Inside the Mind of an Entrepreneur with our very own Dwayne Morton.
All right, what's up, everyone? You're watching Inside the Mind of an Entrepreneur. We have a guest today, and her name is Pixie. I'll allow her to introduce herself. To before she does, remember I was talking to you guys before. I spoke to you about someone that was helping me with basically setting up with Twitter, learning about. Well, I didn't know nothing about Twitter, so like I said, I thought it was dead. Well, it's alive, and she helped me realize that. So, so we're gonna put her on.
Well, hi, Dwayne. How's it going?
It's going.
Well, guys, my name is Pixie, and I'm the host of multiple podcasts. My main podcast just reached 10K. I found Dwayne on Facebook because he was asking a lot of important questions that all podcasters need to know. And he invited me here on Inside the Mind of an Entrepreneur. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Thanks for coming. You're like the first person that I wanted to be on here. So,
Well, you've already had a rocky road to begin with, and I'm just here to poke the bear and make sure things go smooth for you. I'm
y-
excited.
and just so you guys know too, even before we started the show, Pixie helped me better my podcasting experience. So,
Yep, you're gonna grow exponentially from here on out. It's all gonna get better, so much better. I believe in you.
all right, so let's get down to it. So, I have a couple of questions for you, Pixie. I really, what I'm trying to do here basically is I want everybody to understand that there are many different types of entrepreneurs. At the same time, we're not all the same.
Hmm.
All entrepreneurs, they're different. They think differently. Like I said, it's we're not cookie cutter type. So the first question I have for you is, what is an entrepreneur?
I think somebody that is a creative mind that wants to make things, that sees a niche and has to like answer it. There's a call to action that just happens inside the brain of an entrepreneur. There's somebody that they see things and they do. They act upon those thoughts, and they can help anyone. An entrepreneur can be anywhere. There's no age restriction on being an entrepreneur. Young people do it, old people do it. It crosses so many boundaries. That's what I think of when I think of an entrepreneur.
Well, Pixie here and inside the mind of an entrepreneur, we like to call them seniors, not old people, but
Seasoned is what I like.
season.
Seasoned.
For the next question, uh, do you feel? Well, you basically answered this. Do
I
you feel
did.
anyone could be an entrepreneur?
Yes. Yes, I do. It does take a special mindset to be a productive entrepreneur, but anybody can be one. And you can also focus and train yourself to think like an entrepreneur. Even if you're not, there's a lot of resources, there's books, there's coaching like you do for people to get in that mindset.
All right. Next, what made you choose the route of an entrepreneur?
Well, as you know, and the people that listen to your show, I'm not an entrepreneur yet. I am in those beginning stages where I'm learning things. I've already talked to you on a couple of Twitter spaces where you've said that I have that, but I've never completed anything that was sort of the entrepreneur. I've had a lot of ideas. I've never like I said, I've never completed anything, so I don't feel like I'm quite an entrepreneur just yet.
See, I beg to differ. Like I said, no. I'll be completely honest with you because when it's like when they say real recognize real, so it's basically like an entrepreneur recognizes an entrepreneur. So I know that you like you said, you have the ideas, you
Mhm.
have the call to action. You do everything that an entrepreneur does.
Except for make money.
Uh, yeah, they have entrepreneurs that y- you also got to look at it this way. You could be making money, but you choose not to.
Right.
You're
Right.
choosing, and I understand why you're doing it. But as I was trying to say to you before, make money. So, because I
It's
mean, you spend a lot of time into it. You know what I mean? And
right.
I, I honestly feel, and as I stated before in the previous podcast, I feel everybody should be compensated for their time. And you put in a lot of time, you put a lot of effort. I see you on Twitter, and I see you on Facebook, and you're giving out good advice. And a lot of people don't really. I feel sometimes like they don't appreciate the advice unless you put a dollar amount on it.
Mhm. And a lot of us that aren't quite sure about being entrepreneurs, it's not really that the money factor, it's about believing in yourself. So a lot of it's a mental brick wall, and sometimes we need a coach or somebody to realize that within ourselves so we can move forward. And unless you have it, you just know what you're doing, a lot of the times it's best if you could ask somebody. It's sometimes like even with podcasting, it's about getting support from other people. And that's really a lot of the questions that I ask you cuz sometimes I'm the master and sometimes I'm the student.
But to me, that's what also makes you an entrepreneur and an effective one, because like how they say there's too many chiefs and not enough Indians. You know
Mm,
when to lead and when to basically to follow. And the reason why you're following is so you could learn. So when you lead, it's more effective.
correct. Yeah.
So I just think you're not giving yourself enough credit, honestly.
Well, that comes with time and practice, and it's a lot of moving forward, especially if you fail. You're never going to get it right on the first try, so you just keep trying and you try different things, and that's really what I've been going at.
And you have been succeeding.
I'm working on it.
You're definitely doing it though. So, all right. Now, what is the path you took in order to achieve the status of an entrepreneur? I know you
So
say you haven't achieved it yet, but
I
you
haven't
have.
achieved victory yet. So,
All right.
so right now, for the last year, I have been producing my main podcast, and I've been trying to do quality, learn as much as possible. I've been getting all of the structure together before I jump into things like commercials, before I, learn how to do the work before I start trying to get paid. And and there's a lot of issues that go on with podcasters where we're like, no, you shouldn't do it for the money. You should do it because you enjoy it. But it's a job. There's a lot of chore that goes into creating a podcast. It's it's my time, it's my effort. I've spent more money on equipment than I should have. And it does it makes you wonder, what is your time worth? And there's just a lot of questions that, not only me but other podcasters have.
Well, just so you know, when you start putting a dollar amount on your services, I'll be one of the first ones to.
Well, I appreciate that.
All right. So, did you have any mentors along the way?
For entrepreneur, well, I've always liked how people become creative. I like how, Ford, he would get a whole bunch of people together and kind of create things and make things and then put it into practice. I've always admired people who are able to create out of nothing. That there's just something there, and it's amazing when you can see it happen in real time.
All right. So with did you have any physical mentors there, or is it something that
No,
someone that?
I've never had any physical mentors. I've just had people that I look up to, but they're not really entrepreneurs. They're just regular basic individuals. Yeah.
Now, what would you say is your biggest obstacle you have had to overcome as an entrepreneur?
My own brain. Getting over just getting over who I am and these pitfalls of going, "Well, am I worth it? Is it worth it? Is it worth jumping forward, moving into these things?" They're just the same thing. It's just like a mental block that everybody goes through.
All right. So the next question then is, how do you stay motivated with all that happening? How exactly do you stay motivated and stay in the game?
Well, to keep myself motivated, I'm always thinking of the next thing to do. I get a lot of creation from talking to other users, helping people out with their own ideas, and as I talk to people, I can like come back and refocus on what I'm creating. And when something kind of clicks, it really helps me go, "Oh wow, if they could do it, I can do it." And it's really just about learning from other people.
All right. So now this is the probably like one of the biggest questions is, what's your biggest failure?
So, a long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, I I owned a toy store and I went into business for myself. Um, I sold
Entrepreneur.
yeah, I sold action figures. It it was a terrible business. I still enjoy action figures. I still enjoy toys, but I didn't know how to run a shop. I didn't know how to manage my time very well. And I also had kind of a shady business partner in practice who really um cheapen the experience, and he basically used me for my experience of the things that I do know. And it really left a sour like taste in my mouth, and it didn't make me want to be my own boss just because of somebody else is going to try and benefit off of me instead of myself making myself better as I'm growing.
All right. So then you've had the taste of the
I
entrepreneur.
have, and
Yeah.
it wasn't a very good taste.
But you're back at it again. The
That's true.
so it's like we said before, like you don't fail, you learn, and
Yeah.
that's what you did. So you fell forward.
I totally fell forward.
All right. So do you feel you learned from your biggest failure?
I did. I learned not to put all of my eggs in one basket, to lean heavily on somebody who might not have my best interests at heart. There was a lot of signs that happened beforehand that I thought were okay and that I thought I could work through. And when you see a red flag or you feel a red flag, you need to be able to speak up and and talk to the person that you're working with, because having a whole business can well, there's a lot of pitfalls.
All right. So we're gonna take a quick break. All right, we're back. Remember that learning experience I was talking about?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm learning quick.
Feet to the fire, right?
Yeah. Yep, definitely. All right, so next question is, how do you stay motivated throughout the hardships of being an entrepreneur? So even with that situation that happened, how did you stay motivated and basically come back from that, you know, how did you come back from that situation?
Well, I had to think about my family first and kind of take myself out of being friends with the person. So that was the hardest decision is to cut my loss with a friend who did treat me dirty. So knowing when to speak up for yourself and then advocating for yourself, which is a huge thing that entrepreneurs need to have. I was able to look at it in a positive but negative light and basically cut ties where it was needed and still be able to come out with my head above water.
All right, so are you still communicating with that individual, or did
No,
you completely
it was a it was a very bad situation at the end.
uh,
Yeah. But, you live and you learn and you kind of move through and now that I'm thinking about other things, I know what not to do. I know what not, you know, the risks that I have to take, I need to be more prepared than I was. I was kind of going through it thinking, "Oh, this is going to be great. I'm going to make all kinds of money." And then it just didn't turn out that way. Ah, you live and you learn.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Hopefully, he is that individual is listening to your podcast. And
Oh, I doubt it. I think I have them blocked on all social media, so it's fine.
trust me, some people find another way. So, all
It's true.
right. So, if you could do it all over again, would you do anything different?
Yes, I would get more of a contract signed. I would advocate for myself before I signed any papers, and if something didn't feel right, be willing to walk away without, without getting my feelings hurt. Cause a lot I'm a very volatile creature, so I like to, move with feelings instead of move with business sense. And that doesn't really work too well in the business realm. So, yeah, it's more about saying, "Hey, why is this in the contract?" And I want a better part for myself. That's really what needs to happen.
So that's that. Lesson learned.
Lesson learned.
And then, as you were saying before, I know you said you like to. I mean, before you're moving more with feelings.
Mhm.
Yeah, me, I, I don't.
Cold-hearted. Just money, money, money.
Well, no, 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 no. I don't even think about money. Honestly, I don't even worry about the money. The money just honestly that just comes. But like I said, I still put a dollar amount on things
Mhm,
because most of the time when you give people, especially something free, they don't think it has value.
mhm,
And I'm not trying to waste my time. So,
right.
all right, what advice do you have for any aspiring entrepreneurs out there?
Give it a try. Learn, fail, succeed. Just get out there and just try something new. If you have an idea, write it down. Make plans to try and make it a thing. It doesn't have to be it, it doesn't have to be much, but you just give it a try. Fail. Just fall on your face and go for it.
See, and I think that's one of the biggest issues for I mean, I guess you could say for anybody, nobody wants to fail.
Nobody wants to fail.
No. But everybody fails. They fail and they
Mhm,
don't even realize that they failed even when they don't go the entrepreneur route. They end up failing and it's like that failure I guess is not as they're not taking that big of a leap.
mhm,
So it's like it's easier for a comeback.
mhm.
honestly, to me, it's not worth it unless you take like you jump off a cliff, you know. So I'm not jumping off a hill, not jumping off my roof. I'm going straight down.
Going for it.
Yeah. So the next question I want to ask you is what exactly are you doing now as an entrepreneur? So what is your goals and what are you trying to achieve by the stuff that you're doing now?
So currently, I'm moving in the direction of public speaker. I'm starting to become a coach where I help other individuals learn and succeed with their podcast. I've started a Patreon just for my podcast, which is called Project Podcast with Pixie, which happens to be my third podcast. And I'm really moving in that kind of direction because I want to help people get over the pitfalls just like you're helping me get over this entrepreneurial step and just trying to make something of myself that I don't have to work a 9 to 5.
See, that's what I like about the podcast community, at least from my experience. Everybody seems to be friendly. Everybody tries to help one another.
Mhm.
So I haven't had any issues in the in other fields that I've been in. I've noticed there's been a lot of competition and it's basically like cutthroat. With this, I feel like there's so many people in the world. One person can hop on your podcast, listen, then after that they can hop on my podcast, listen. It nobody needs to be so greedy.
There are less than 3 million podcasts out there. That's not even a podcast per person. So, and so when podcasters think about it, we're not in competition with each other. There's so many valuable podcasts out there that it's easier to help one another, especially if you're an independent podcaster. You can move unilaterally and help somebody and they're gonna help you back, and it's such a wonderful community. I I wish more communities were nice like this, but so far, it's been a really nice journey.
So when exactly did you start
I s
your first podcast?
My first podcast was last year in September during the pandemic. So, I was, retired and broke, and I decided to start something new.
And
And
you
so and so now it's working.
No, it is it is working because you have a decent following too at the
I
same
did.
time in such like a short period of time.
Yep. That's
So it's
all procedure and, trial and error, falling on my face, learning what works, learning what doesn't work, and then just, executing it, putting it into place, putting my foot where my mouth is, basically.
so what forms of platform do you use? You use Facebook, you use Twitter. Is there any others?
So I don't really use Facebook. Facebook still has me sort of semi-banned. It's because of my content. It's kind of spicy, but mostly it's Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube with a little bit of Facebook. But I've done everything from I've tried so many different programs, so many different platforms, so many different apps, and you just kind of have to stick with what you like the best and just try. You got to go where your followers are at. Like I was telling you, if if your followers are on TikTok, go to TikTok. If your followers if your
Of
followers
course, you
are
have to bring TikTok in there.
I know. If your followers are older, Facebook is where it's at. You know, if you like images and you like just connecting in a certain way, Instagram. If you like talking to people and just seeing what the rest of the world wants your opinion or doesn't want your opinion, Twitter is the place. It's kind of crazy of all of these different social media places. YouTube is the third biggest search engine around.
All right. So in my defense too, TikTok I just discovered and it's I get to I actually put it as as the inside the mind of an entrepreneur, put this, the name for that for TikTok. But honestly, I think I'm gonna change it because I just like to do just random stuff. I like to be silly. So it's like that allows me to actually be silly because I don't know. I just
It
want
it should be a good time, you shouldn't have to worry too much, and it shouldn't take you hours to edit a video for TikTok.
to. Well, you know what? Yeah, it did take me a while.
Yeah.
All right. So then about that spicy content, what is that you're talking about?
So, I'm a retired entertainer. I was in the business for 23 years as a spicy content, as an entertainer, and last year when the pandemic hit, the club closed down. The club, the bar, everything just went dark, and when it came back, it wasn't the same.
All right.
So, and when it did, I didn't feel like sometimes there's just a time for a change and a jump or a push off the cliff in my in my circumstances, and so you just gotta go with something that you like and you enjoy.
All right. So that was basically your turning point in life.
That was my turning point, yes.
See, we all have it. So I mean, it brought you to this point, and like I said, you have a decent following,
I do, yes. I
and
was
so
just part of a, global sexuality summit on Wednesday, so I was one of the keynote speakers. So things are moving in interesting ways. I didn't think I was gonna be, um, more professional. I thought I was just gonna be able to scoot along as a shit poster, and now it's interesting to see my growth and my development.
see, but what's the good part? I feel like what's really good is you still give class and professionalism to all of it, and
Mhm.
you give knowledge to people, so their mind's not. A lot of people when they think that their mind will just be, how where their mind is just out there,
Yeah.
and you kind of just it's kind of like you give more organization to it. You help them see it on like the big picture,
Yeah.
and not just see what everybody else sees.
It's easier for me to think outside the box than to be inside the box.
That's an
I'm
entrepreneur.
I'm not a very good inside the box kind of person. I'm not very good at following the rules. I get in trouble all of the time, and I like to be outside so other people can see what it's like. That you don't have to go the same route as everybody else to do what you're doing. You can do it in a way that makes it fun, that it's not a chore because you want to be able to get out there and enjoy life instead of, your 9 to 5 job. If that's what you enjoy, that's what you enjoy. I just I'm not a very good sit behind the desk kind of person.
Most of the time, there's no entrepreneur that is. So,
Well, good.
see, so
Maybe I'm
you're
on the right track, right?
no, no, you definitely are. You definitely are. So, is there any way, anybody that's listening can hop on your Twitter Spaces or actually any way that they can reach you? Because just like me, as you saw, I didn't even. You had to basically hold my hand
I
with Twitter
grabbed you.
because.
I did. I did. I found you on Facebook, and then I sent you a message. Well, I posted and asked if I could send you a message because I don't just want to just jump into somebody's inbox and be like, "Hey, I know this thing." So sometimes it does take a little bit of kid gloves because I'm kind of bombastic. And I just the best way to get a hold of me is probably Twitter. It does sound like it's a crazy, wild app, and it is. It really is. I don't quite fit in to Twitter. So I kind of created my own little culture, my own little network of people, and I think a lot of people need to do that. If you are lacking some sort of village to help you grow and create it yourself. Be the leader and stand up and kind of bring these people around you. Assign people that may know something that you don't know. And one of the things that you can do if you want to join in any of my uh, Twitter Spaces, which on Wednesday I host a project podcast with Pixie every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, and it's for 2 hours. And to find me, you just have to type in next on stage one. That's really the best way to get a hold of me.
Spoken like a true entrepreneur. So wait, this whole time that I've been and then that I still message you on Facebook, so then I should really contact you on Twitter.
Ah, it's it is what it is. Facebook is just where I found you, and Facebook is where you deal. You've got to be flexible as somebody who's making contacts because not everybody's going to be on Twitter. Not everybody's going to know how to make Instagram work or Snapchat or TikTok. So sometimes you have to go out and find those people and bring them into your circle. And
Is
yeah,
Snapchat even a thing now? Like,
I don't know. I never used it.
uh,
I'm too old. But some people make really good money on Snapchat. Some people have known exactly what to do, where to post, who to contact. And it's one of those things like some people they know how to work eBay. And so you have to be able to go where your audience is and really kind of dig in.
all right, so you'd say mostly your audience is on Twitter then, correct?
Most of my audience is on Twitter. Yeah.
All right, yeah, because I seen your Twitter Spaces and there's like a whole bunch of people in there. I was like, oh.
Yeah, it can get pretty wild. It can get pretty deep. I like to, like I said, I like to surround myself with other people who know more than me so I can learn from them. And that's really most of us, all we have to do is stop talking and just listen.
Another trait of an entrepreneur.
Know when to shut up.
Well, that's. I mean, I talk a lot, but I also listen a lot.
Yep.
So it's just like I tell everybody, it's just like a chess game, you know. So you got to always make sure you're 2 steps ahead, but at the same time, you close your mouth so you can know how to be 2 steps ahead. So
Also, ask questions.
yes,
um y- if you don't ask questions and you don't fight for yourself, how are you going to learn? Most of these tutorials online, they're boring, they're basic because nobody wants to give you their good information for free. They want you to check out their ebook and then sign up for their class. There's always sort of like a hook at the end. So don't be afraid if somebody's willing to show you something or they know something, just ask them. Just be like, "Hey, by the way, I enjoyed what you did, but could you help me with this? Or do you know a good app?" Those kind of things. A lot of people are, if you kind of sweeten the pot by like, "I love your podcast. What kind of mics are you using?" People are going to answer you because they like talking about themselves. That's a
so if
customer
any of you
service
guys have any
thing.
questions, make sure you ask Pixie now before she starts charging, and then she'll have a
That's
class.
true. Once I get into the charging mode, it's going to be like 3 questions and that's it.
Three questions could go a long way, though. So,
3 questions could go a long way. Maybe I'll have to scale that back.
all right. So, with all that said, is there anything, I guess, that you would say that you can tell people, basically help other people, I guess, basically to do what you're doing?
To do what I'm doing is podcasting or to learn? Because 'Cause I'm
No,
not
I'm
an
basic.
entrepreneur yet.
No, you're an entrepreneur.
Uh, I would just suggest that just keep trying. Get out of your head sometimes, go for a walk. If there's something that that's pressing upon you and you have a question, go for a walk, go out to the mountains, something that refreshes your mind. Even just working out is a great way that you could really invigorate what's going on. You can play music, you can clean the house, reorganizing stuff around you. Those are great ways to kind of put yourself in the mindset of the
An
creation process.
entrepreneur.
Yeah, of an entrepreneur. Really, all it is just being money creative, being able to see that you're providing a service for something. Even if you don't make money on it, just thinking about ways to improve quality of life for you, or if there's a problem, quality of life for somebody else.
See, the funny thing about that is too, I mean, I know you say that you don't classify yourself as an entrepreneur, but it's basically no different than, I can't speak for anybody else, but no different from what I do. What I end up doing is I'll listen to motivational speeches
Mhm.
and I'll just zone out. I'll I'll get in the zone of the motivational speeches and just listen to them and allow them to be my mentor.
Mhm.
So that for me, that's what works. So it's the same thing that you do. You're kind of blocking out, the world,
Mhm.
and just allowing just really the positive and the good energy to just hit you. So then you can be in your peace and you can just relax.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, realistically, it's just having somebody be able to tell you something like that. Having somebody to say, "Hey, that's exactly how an entrepreneur thinks," or "You're in the right steps to becoming an entrepreneur." A lot of us, we just don't think of it like that. So having conversations like this really help, like, refocus my brain, recalibrate things when things go off kilter. So I appreciate this conversation. This is great.
Nah, I'm glad you appreciate it, especially since this is my first interview.
If it's bad, it's my fault, guys. Send all hate mail to Pixie at Next on Stage One on Twitter.
Because you won't find her and you won't be able
You
to
won't
reach her
find
on
you
Facebook.
won't be able to find me on Facebook, no.
What's it called? What's the other one? What's the one I do? TikTok. There we go.
TikTok. I'm on TikTok. I probably have, maybe 200 followers. I don't know. I've been on there since, this time last year when I tried TikTok. It
How long did
didn't
you
go
try
through.
TikTok for?
I tried TikTok, so I could promote the podcast.
But how long were you on it? Like actually,
I don't remember. It wasn't long enough to really succeed or do anything.
you see, and within that little time span, you have 200.
Yeah, there's probably more than 20 videos, and that's about it. And
You
yeah,
got
there's
more than me.
201 followers.
Yeah, see, I'm in the I think single digits. So I
Well,
mean, I just started it last night.
you've got to post multiple videos and have fun with it.
Oh,
And
I will. Don't worry.
start tagging people. Start moving in directions. What's the worst that could happen? You become famous on Twitter? Oh, shucks.
All right. With that said, I'm gonna end with my closer because it's basically, me. I'm like 30 minutes to 45 minutes. My attention span doesn't go that far, but Pixie, she can do what? Use like 2 hours, right?
2 hours for my Twitter spaces. Yeah. I do an
Yeah.
hour and 20 minutes for my main podcast, about an hour and 20 minutes for my second podcast, and 2 hours for my third. Yeah. So
Wait.
I'm a
So,
long form discussionist.
so wait. I have a question because now that you mentioned that, you have the on stage,
Uh-huh.
you have project podcast. What's the other one?
The third one is called um, Pop Culture Perspective, which is my co host. He is the main, and I am the follow on it. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, and it hasn't been released because we've been working at it for a whole year. And he's one of those guys who's a perfectionist. And because Next on Stage is mine,
Yeah.
I push and push and push. And because pop culture perspective is mine, I push and push and push. But because well, pop culture perspective is not mine, so I don't push as hard as I do for everything else. Because I want him to feel comfortable, and it's kind of one of those things. If you don't release anything, you're never going to jump. And
Yeah.
he's a never jumper. uh,
Push him
really,
off.
I just every time it's fine.
Eventually, you're gonna push him.
Eventually. But
Yeah, and then
also it's sometimes um it's not your job to push somebody.
yeah,
So
that's
if
true.
he doesn't want to be pushed, I really can't push him.
Yeah. All right, well, you pushed me, so
Cuz I'm good. I'm good at pushing. I'm going to get like a
I'm good
stick.
at jumping, so so it's
and
like perfect.
And I think that's the kind of people that I'm looking forward to helping, is people that want to be pushed, like they just need that little bit of push and they're ready to succeed. And most of the people that I talk to, they already have a plan and set, and they just kind of need refocused. And having a fresh pair of eyes like mine, who's crazy and eccentric, I can really look at somebody's problem without having to put a lot of myself into it. It does for you, it probably feels like I'm handing out too much, but that's the way my brain thinks, is that it's just a it's just a problem that needs to be solved. And for me, that's where the excitement comes from.
Now that's true. I understand where you're coming from because with me, I I do the same thing. I'll give,
Mhm.
and I realize I'm giving too much, and there really should be a dollar amount on it.
Mhm.
Then at the same time, I start to think, and I'm like, well, you know what? You do good, good comes back around to you. So I try to think in that perspective at the same time, but I also try to think that still don't give too much. It's just like it's a fight between yourself.
It is. It is. And there are a lot of thieves. There are a lot of
Yeah,
not thieves, they're energy thieves that
yeah.
just will just take. And that's a hard thing as somebody who's becoming an entrepreneur. You've got to know what the proper balance is for your time versus your effort, because any wrong turn, you could just be giving away too much. But then you want to make sure that it's of value for your time and for theirs. So it's really hard to learn all of these different steps. I'm still learning, I'm still working away at it.
See, that's why I think it's good that entrepreneurs, like I said, they're like lines. It's good that they stick together at the same time because not only because they'll be like a force to be reckoned with, not really just because of that. It's easy to people don't understand. At least I feel people don't understand for entrepreneurs. They also get in a negative mindset. They also have that they it's like it's crazy. Like they'll have that fear, but yet then they don't have that fear. Because I know with me, I'll have that fear, and then after I take a step back, and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not afraid. Like I'll honestly tell myself I'm not afraid of nothing. So what am I? Why am I? Why did that even happen? So that's why I was. To me, I was fortunate that you did come on Facebook because remember, I didn't even do a podcast yet, and I didn't know exactly what I was doing. And I've tried 5 years ago, and it's basically I did basically what I didn't even get as far as your partner did, your co-host. I I I I, I didn't really even do anything. It was just basically a thought. The first time, the second time, it was a thought, and I tried doing it, and trying consists of failure, and that's exactly what I
Mhm.
did. I failed because I actually wanted co-hosts so I can feed off of, so it actually pushed me to do it, and then it kind of just it backfired because they had their own issues, and since they couldn't do it, I was just like, all right, well now I can't do it.
It's hard, it really is. It's just the same as being an entrepreneur, just taking that first leap and jumping into it. And it does help if you can have a guided mentor, or you can have somebody that has failed, and it kind of speeds up the process, because somebody who's been through owning a business, they're going to kind of say things in a way to get you to look in that kind of direction. They're going to say, "Is that really how you want to do business?" Or, they're going to help you along the way, but they're also going to let you fail. A good leader lets you fail, but helps you get back up.
Oh, and that's what I was talking about before when I said words, knowledge is power, and just like words have power, and that's one
Mhm.
of them, honestly.
Well, thank you for having me on the show. And I can't wait to see how you grow as a podcaster, and to see how Inside the Mind of the Entrepreneur progresses and grows as well.
Oh, so now you're trying to get off now.
I am wrapping it up.
That's why.
That's the key of a good podcaster, is to know when to move the conversation along.
Oh, all right.
Oh.
Well, you're the one who does 2 hours. Yeah, so
Trust me, I could go for hours, I'm telling you.
uh, but yeah, we keep ours within half an hour to 45, well, we're 47. So,
Mm.
alright. So, yeah, we'll definitely wrap it up. I wanna thank you, honestly, for taking the time to do this interview and being the first person to actually have the interview with on Inside the Mind of an Entrepreneur.
Well, it's been a pleasure. Seriously, the the knowledge and the questions that I've been able to ask you have helped me, and I have taken my first leap of creating the Patreon and moving forward. And it can only get better from here. By the next
Alright.
time I come on, I'll be a full-fledged money-making machine. Or a failure, one of the two. Who
Well,
knows?
alright, no, you'll do good. You won't. I mean, you'll fail, but you'll also pick yourself back up and you'll keep going. You'll fail forward. I mean, I fail all the time. You mean I failed just doing that with that one little issue that we had in the middle. So, I just pick myself and keep going. I'm gonna do something that you said that you're not comfortable with doing, Pixie. I'm gonna do advertisement. Make sure you guys make sure you guys go
Get
get
the
your shirt.
shirt and the bling and the
Yeah.
ring. Did you see this shit? Like, it's all over the place, guys.
And if you haven't seen it, go on my TikTok and you will. So thank you, Pixie.
Oh, you're welcome, Dwayne. I really enjoy these kind of talks with you.
Yeah, I do too.
Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed what it's like to be inside the mind of an entrepreneur. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Inside the Mind of an Entrepreneur.